At the start of any coaching relationship, there's a really simple question that has to be asked. What do you want? Very obvious, isn't it? And there's, in general, one of two ways that people answer it. One of them is that they'll tell you what they don't want. I don't want to be in debt anymore. I don't want to feel anxious anymore. I don't want to be in a relationship where I don't feel valued. But the brain doesn't work like that. You've heard this before, I know. Don't think of a pink elephant. And when I say that, probably the first thing that comes into your head is a pink elephant. Don't imagine that I've got a paperclip in my hand. And as soon as I say that, your brain automatically starts to think of a paperclip. It's just the way that the brain works. If somebody tells me that they want to get out of debt, the first thing they think about is debt, and their mind's now focused on debt. And when that happens, that's likely to cause them to worry, and they're certainly not going to be able to be creative and come up with the kind of solutions that are going to help them generate the money that they need to get out of that debt in the first place. So when people express it in the negative, the next question is always, what do you want instead? Turn it into a positive. Okay, I want to be in a relationship where we both value each other and we're both getting what we want out of this relationship. I want to have X amount of pounds so I can pay off my debt, and I want to have X amount of pounds of disposable income so that I can have some fun. Or I want to wake up in the morning and feel good about myself. When people do answer in the positive, they might say to me, I want to wake up in the morning feeling optimistic about the day. My next question then is, what do you really want? And the two things are generally not the same thing. Because what they really want might be to get up in the morning feeling physically great, to be feeling excited and inspired by the day, and they want to go through the day with joy and a song in their heart. But that's not what they tell me. Because as adults, we don't tend to think about what we really want. We tend to think about, what am I prepared to put up with? What is the least possible thing that I'm prepared to accept as being better than I've got now? Children don't do that, do they? If you ask a child what they want to go and walk on the moon, they want to be a film star, they want to be an author, they want to be the person that solves climate change, and in their mind all of these things are possible. But as adults, we tend to think about more, what is possible? Do I believe that I can have this? And I don't know whether we do it ourselves or whether society does it, but we tend to shrink that down into something that's a lot smaller than what we really want. So let's talk about a process that's called dream building. And this is all about expanding that dreaming again, expanding our horizons and expanding our imagination. There are some really great reasons why we need to be doing this. I didn't invent the process. I think it's a fantastic process. I've been doing it on and off for about 8 years now. And I tend to go through periods where I'll do it a lot, and then I perhaps won't do it again for another 6 months. The reason I'm talking about it today is because I've suddenly remembered that I haven't done it for a while, and when I do it, I find it to be a very useful process. It's a very simple one. Let me explain how it works, and then we'll talk about what some of the benefits are. It's a process that I very often go through with my clients, and I only give them very minimal instructions. I'm going to give you a few more pointers today so that you're starting from a different place. But when I do it with a client, what I do is I tell them to get, or ask them, should I say, to get a piece of paper, a piece of A4 paper, or you can do it on 3 pieces, it's entirely up to you. And you ask yourself the question, for the rest of my life, what do I want to have? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be? And what do I want to do? And you write that as a heading either on 1 piece of paper, or you can write have, be and do on 3 separate pieces of paper. Very important, you get a timer and you set it for 10 minutes. And with my clients, that's all the instructions that they get. What do you want to have? Who do you want to be? And what do you want to do? Go. And what tends to happen is a lot of people find it difficult to get going because they've not thought about things, they've not thought about this question, they've not really thought about their life in this context before. The second thing that happens is they don't get to 10 minutes, they've finished after 3 minutes and they've written 6 things on a piece of paper. So let's expand that, let's give you a few more instructions. Well, first of all, this isn't about what do you believe that you can have. This is about what do you really, really, really want. And get creative with it. This is about dreaming. And it's also about being specific. Thinking about things that you want to do. You might say, I want to travel the world. Great. What countries do you want to go to? What cities do you want to go to in that country? What do you want to do when you get there? What do you want to see when you get there? Do you want to learn the language? Do you want to learn a bit of it? Do you want what restaurants do you want to go to? How much spending money do you want to have when you get there? What's the experience that you want to have? And thinking about the question, who do I want to be? It might be I want to be a great leader and I want to influence thousands of people. Or it might be that I want to be just a little bit more involved in things in my community and to help people locally. Or it might be I want to be a good role model for my children. Or I might want to be the kind of person that people enjoy talking with and feel uplifted after they've been with me. When you're talking about things that you want to have, again, be really specific about it. Don't say, I want to have a new car. What kind of car do you want? And don't put, I want to have a family saloon, if what you really want is a Mercedes convertible. This is not about what you think you can have. This is about what do you want to have. This is about dreaming. This is about expanding your horizon. And here's one of the reasons that you do this. By the way, the more that you do this, the more things you'll write down. If you do this every day for a week, you'll write down a lot more by the end of the week than you do at the beginning of it. If you do it twice a week for a month, the same thing happens. It's about using that creative, that dreaming muscle, and the more you use a muscle, the more you expand it. But here's one of the reasons why this is such a good exercise. You will not get most of the things that you write down. And that's not a reason to feel disappointed. That's not a reason to say, well, what's the point in doing it then? But if you expand your horizons, if you build your dreams really big and you write down 1,000 things, what if you get 50 of them, or what if you get 100 of them? But what about the person who writes down 6 things and they might get 1 or 2 of them? Who's going to have the best quality of life? And that's what this is all about, really. It's about what is possible. And what a lot of people find with this is they start thinking about things that were a dream when they were younger and they put on the shelf, they put on the back burner because they didn't think that they could have it. But when they see it again, they think, you know, I really do want to have that. Or I really do want to become that person. Or really want to do that thing. And they start thinking about it and they start making plans to make it happen. And they start making things happen that somehow had just slipped away, and without this process were never ever going to happen. Another reason to do this is that for most people this is a really enjoyable process. And notice I said for most people. Some people will find when they do this that it's very hard. Some people feel really anxious when they're doing it. If you find that that's happening, what that probably means is that you're judging things as you write them down. You're writing them down, but at the same time you're believing that you're never going to have them. And so what you're actually doing there is writing a list of things that you can't have. And of course that's going to make you feel bad. So the idea of this is there's no judgment, there's no thinking about, do I believe I can have this? Do I believe that I deserve this? It's all about, what do I want? And it's almost like having a direct line between brain and piece of paper. So I haven't done this for a while, as I've said, and I find it a very useful process when I do. As soon as I turn this camera off, I'm setting my timer for 10 minutes and I'm going to do this. Are you going to join me?